Welcome to Singapore, and I'm going to be taking you on a short ride around my neighborhood. I live in the downtown, and I'm riding my Cruzbike recumbent. It's a front-wheel drive, high racer on two 700C wheels. I got this bike about 6 years ago, and it's been really good to me. It's my first recumbent bike. It was quite an aggressive bike and an unusual choice for my first recumbent. So it took me about a month to get comfortable riding it in traffic. And after about 6 weeks, then I became faster on this bike than I was on my regular road bike. Well, the unusual thing about this video, as was stated in the title, is that it was taken during the COVID-19 situation here in Singapore, so there is very little traffic here on a weekday in downtown. We are in what is called a circuit breaker, or what other countries are sometimes calling a partial lockdown. And so I'm allowed to go out and exercise, but I am not allowed to stop and loiter in any place or be in contact with anyone, and many of the restaurants and shops are all closed. So this is just going to be a short ride around the city, but it's going to be really empty, and especially really empty of traffic, as you can see. Well, we're passing through just the main financial district here. We've left an area called Shenton Way, with a lot of the banks and financial institutions. And the lane that you're seeing me in is called our bus lane. There are no bike lanes, or hardly any bike lanes on the road in Singapore, but there are those bus lanes, and those are actually good to cycle on, especially during rush hour traffic, because the buses behave pretty well, and then you get more space from the cars. You can see I'm usually riding a quarter or third into the lane. And of course, sometimes I move to the center to control the lane or when I'm changing lanes. And this is pretty good in Singapore. Our lanes are quite narrow. So by riding in that position, you're obeying the law and you're encouraging cars to give you more space. Okay, I'm going to be changing lanes soon and heading over. I'm signaling. And we're getting ready to enter into one of the parks. The camera I'm using is an Insta360 1X, so it's a 360 degree camera, and it's mounted on a selfie stick, not on my helmet, but actually on a stick, which is behind and above my head. So I could get a 360 view from this, and I can move the camera around to show you different things, but for most of this video I am pointing it forward and just giving you a ultra wide angle. We are now entering the Marina Promenade. And this is the bay on the left-hand side, and you can see the Marina Bay sands, those three tall towers. I think they're 55 stories high, and I think that's the world's longest swimming pool, infinity swimming pool, that stretches the length of that on top. Casinos and convention centers and theaters and shopping centers all there. We'll pass under it in a minute. Yeah, there's normally a lot of people jogging here, walking with their families, but as I mentioned, it's a COVID-19 season, and so it's really empty. I often bring my kids here, and they have learned to cycle on the road from my house along the same route that I rode on into this area here. So we're just coming up under the Marina Bay Sands now. So just an amazing and really expensive shopping mall. I don't go there on the right. Just sometimes stop at one of the cafes here for a drink, but just even then hardly. Just enjoying the ride through here. But on the left, this is where a really great light show is here in the evenings at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Fantastic laser light and media show where it involves not just the local building here, but involves all the buildings around the Marina Bay area in a coordinated light and music show. I often get asked, what is this building that's we're coming up onto that looks like this five-fingered hands? We're passing it on the left now. Well, that's the Art Science Museum. My daughter loves to come here and to look at the fish and the koi and all the pond on that right-hand side. Here's another view of the Marina Bay Sands coming up. Oh, it's a great view. It's a beautiful, beautiful blue day. We are passing a number of bridges here, and we're going to enter into the Gardens by the Bay. This is a new section called Gardens by the Bay. And everything that we are seeing here, where this is all built on, and the whole gardens, was all reclaimed land. So that means land that was laid about 20, 30 years ago, and then they've let it settle over that length of period, and then built these new gardens on top of that area. And this was not just a beautification project of the city or just for recreation. It had real practical purpose as well, because what you see on the left was once seawater, but now it's a desalinated freshwater reservoir for the water security of our nation. Now this area here, I'm going to be passing two domes. This is the Cloud Dome and the Forest Dome of the Gardens by the Bay, and these are really their centerpieces. They're kind of like two giant greenhouses, but instead of keeping things warm, they keep things cool, and they have curated an incredible set of plants from all over different parts of the world. So it's really, really fascinating. They change their displays regularly, and then this one in the cloud forest, they have a waterfall and a simulation of the different levels of the rainforest. So you walk from the top levels down into the undergrowth and understand what a rainforest was like. And that's just particularly appropriate for Singapore because we really are a tropical rainforest. The entire nation was a rainforest. We're coming up to some areas here where families of otters have really proliferated here in the park, so you got to watch out for otter crossings. They've been known to eat expensive koi fish as well. Well, they're really cute if you can get to see them. A rare cyclist passing me today. Well, we're gonna hit one of the food spots. I won't stop, but it's called Satay by the Bay on the right-hand side. A great place to get some reasonably priced food, and of course, one of our favorite grilled meats, Malay dish called satay with a spicy peanut sauce. Really good. Now, the amazing thing to make this whole area that was once a bay, a seawater bay, into freshwater is this project called the Marina Barrage, and that's where we are entering now. So this is run by the Public Utilities Board. There's huge pumps there on the left, and we are going to pass over the barrage. So it's kind of like a dam that was built to separate the bay, and so of course it was all seawater, and then you start a process of desalinating, which over a number of years I managed to finish that process, and they cleaned up the river, and so now the whole bay and the river is freshwater. It's used for recreation, but the most important use is as an additional freshwater reservoir. Being such a small country, we don't have enough water to gather. And so on the right-hand side is the ocean, and on the left-hand side is now the freshwater reservoir. All those barricades on the left aren't usually there. It's there for the COVID-19 season because they're just blocking off those little rest areas on the left here. Now you're not allowed to use them. That little boat hoist is cool. They use that to move all sorts of boats from the reservoir into the ocean and back and forth as needed. At night, this stretch is really incredible because you get to see the lights of the city and then ride on a park. So I think overall this particular spot here is one of the nicest jogging and cycling patches in Singapore. Still doing a little bit of final construction work on here. They've been topping up and tweaking things for the last couple of years on that. So on the right hand side, after we pass this construction area, all these parks, it's a public area. Sometimes, coming with my daughter, we have a little picnic. That's pretty fun. And on the left, a great view of the domes and the Marina Bay towers that we cycled under just a few minutes ago. Now, my most common route is I would come here, and then pretty soon at the end of this walkway, I would turn right. And then I would take the cycle path into the East Coast Road. That's kind of a relaxing ride for me, rather than a hard road ride. So that would be a leisurely ride. It's something I would take the kids on as well. But that's not the route we're going to take today. We're going to hit the end of this path, and we're going to keep going straight. In the distance, you can just about see like a bit of the tall buildings, and then that bridge we're going to pass under. That bridge is that comes directly from the airport, and so that's the ECP, and that expressway takes visitors from the airport into a beautiful view of the city, and over this bay. So it's kind of designed to give the people just your first impressions of the Singapore after you're arriving, really positive and nice. And it works. That's a really incredible ride. I love to do that on my motorbike at night, coming over that high bridge that you can see there. Can't do it on a bicycle because it's a freeway. Here we go. Here's where I normally turn right, but we're going to go straight on ahead. There's a little boat dock here. You can do some sailing. Some dragon boating. It's popular here. On the weekends, you usually see some teams going out. There's some really nice private homes and condominiums that we're passing on the right-hand side. This stretch is actually very new. They just widened it, and so it's really nice to ride on. It wasn't so good before, so I got to come back here again with my kids. This is actually the first time I'm riding on this newly paved section, so I was pleasantly surprised. You can see how the trees are all small, they're pretty young, so that shows this is a really new area, and our national parks will plant these small trees, and then they'll take root, and of course they'll grow much bigger later. But by starting with just already like baby trees, it really immediately gives a really nice feel to our national parks and our Park Connector networks, which is what this is called. So really kudos and great job by our National Parks Board. So it's awesome if you live by one of these these homes, and this is your back door. Now you can see a view of our national stadium on the left in the distance. So that's our largest stadium, and it's got a movable roof. And that's where our huge events holding about 50,000 people can be held. Maybe it's more than 50,000. Another great new stretch here. Again, my first time on this path, so what a treat. But all that tape on the right-hand side, it's because of COVID-19, they're taping it off to say that you're not allowed to hang out there. So usually it's all open, but just in this season. Now we are just getting nearer to the National Stadium, and then we are also seeing ahead of us the indoor stadium. That's a smaller stadium, and so to get there I'm just going to cross this small little footbridge. And this is the indoor stadium. There's a restaurant there. I remember it was the first date that I took my wife on here in the indoor stadium. I think it was called the Mushroom Pot. And so we're gonna turn left. We're not gonna go to the indoor stadium today. We're gonna go towards the National Stadium and towards some of the sports centers there and the shopping malls there. We're gonna take a look. Again, I'll sometimes bring my kids here. We'll ride here and then go to the mall, catch a meal, maybe bring our swimming costumes, and there's swimming pools here. Then have dinner and ride back, and that gives them maybe just a nice 20-kilometer round trip ride. It's good for the kids. It's just so weird to see this so empty. It's a beautiful day. And while I'm appreciating the beauty of the day, it's a little bit sad as well, because you know the reason why it's so empty, and people in the country are suffering because of it. On the right hand side, yeah, all the shops in the mall and the sports facilities, normally it's just got a buzz of people, but it's just totally empty now. Now you can see on the route map on the top right, I've just about reached the top, and then I'm going to turn back and go to the left. So we're just kind of going around the bay, and then I'm going to be hitting a road soon, and then just going back into the city. I don't normally go on this particular lane, but the road was closed off, so I had to go down here. And here we go, we can hit the road. We'll just navigate the roundabout. Normally you gotta merge with traffic and be really careful, but there isn't much traffic, so that's not no worries. Again, just heading over this bridge on this little bit of an uphill, and crossing the bay on this bridge. This gives you a nice elevated view, and see what's ahead in the city. I remember bringing my kids here, and we were riding home, not on the road but on the sidewalk on the left, and right about at this point my daughter fell, and she had a badly grazed knee. She was 9 years old, and she was crying, and she took some time to recompose herself, but she managed to stop herself and just pick herself up and ride all the way home. So I was really proud of her of that. There's some great life lessons that she learned. We're about to pass under what we call an ERP, electronic road pricing gantry, that's set up as you enter into the central business district. That's a pretty neat feature of Singapore, where it just charges people when you enter during peak hours. And so I don't think it's on now, but you can see it, coming up here. So if you're in a car, it will just charge you automatically, take money from your cash card in your dashboard. But that system's pretty old. I think it's about 20 years old now, and so they're going to be replacing that in a number of years with a GPS-based system, which won't even require those gantries anymore. So yeah, we don't use toll booths. We use those kind of things here in Singapore. Now, we started this video leaving the heart of the central business district, and now we are just going to be heading back into the central business district, into the heart of the city, and that's why you see all those tall buildings ahead. Oh, there goes my gyroscope again. And coming up on the left is our Esplanade, or what we affectionately call it is our durian, because it looks like a big durian. That's our performing arts center. A lot of concerts happen there. There it is on the left-hand side. And again, passing over that, another bridge. Great view of the Marina Bay and the Marina Bay Sands on the left, which really stands out apart from all the other skyscrapers in the city center there. Now at the foot of all those skyscrapers is a lower building, but a large and beautiful one that's very historic. That's the Fullerton. So it's now the Fullerton Hotel. Really beautiful. On the left, another set of shops with a Starbucks that's really nice to sit at and do work at, because you get a great view of the whole bay. Now pretty soon I'm going to make a U-turn and I'm going to head back along the bay. And you can kind of see that on my route map. So I'm now really in the midst of the city, and I'm going to be making a left and going into that bay area and exploring that area a little bit. And here we go. Okay, there's a little bit of a chain here. Gotta lift my bike over, and we're off again. This is another section of the Fullerton Hotel. They've got hotels on both sides, and yeah, I mean, if you've got the dough, the Fullerton Hotel and the Marina Bay Sands is one of the best places that you can stay, but it'll sure burn a hole in your pocket. Here's the front lobby, and we're just gonna go past that. This is a pedestrian area. So I gotta go just kind of navigate this a little bit. Pedestrian area, but you're allowed to just ride bikes very slowly in this area here. Another set of just restaurants and cafes. And we're coming up to the Merlion, one of our iconic spots, that Singapore half mermaid, half lion. And my gyroscope's really crooked. Hope it straightens out soon. Let's find our way down here. Don't want to go down those stairs. And we'll just take a look closer to the Merlion. Now this place is totally packed with tourists. You can never ride your bike here. It's just always packed with people taking photographs. In the first few days of COVID-19, what was really weird was that there were no tourists from China. And we would always have a ton of tourists from China. So you'd go around these areas and there were only tourists from Europe and the West and a few from Asia, but none from mainland China. And that was really weird. And then now we just don't have anyone at all. So I'm heading over this pedestrian bridge. We just cycled over that traffic bridge on the left, the vehicular bridge. But this is called the Jubilee Bridge. It was built in Singapore's Jubilee year, the 50th year, just a couple of years ago. So it connects different parts of the bay. And so we're cycling toward that Esplanade, what we affectionately called that little durian building. So this is the Esplanade Mall, and if you come here for a concert, you usually come early and have a nice dinner at one of the restaurants or some drinks afterwards. On the right hand side there's an open area amphitheater and there's sometimes free concerts there. Pretty fun stuff. And for some cheaper food, there's kind of like a food court area on the left. It looks like they're changing that out, and after that, maybe it's another mall or business place coming up. Now we're heading into the F1 pits area. And so yes, this is where the night F1 races are held. So you can see the grandstands on the left, and the cars would be racing down here at, gosh, whatever speed they go at, 300 kilometers per hour, in and out of the city. So when that happens, of course, traffic is shut down, and then this whole place is floodlit with huge amounts of light. Now over on the right hand side, what looks like a football pitch. It is a football pitch, but actually it's built on a floating platform. And so that's kind of like a public staging area, and we'll use that for our National Day parades and different large events that are held there. Youth Olympic Games, stuff like that. Now, that is the DNA bridge, the Helix bridge on the right, and we're going to loop around and cross over that in a second. So we're just going to do this little anti-clockwise loop to get up to that Helix bridge. And so we're going to get another good view of the city going over this bridge. And it's called the Double Helix Bridge, or sometimes called the DNA Bridge, because it's really modeled after a strand of DNA with those two helixes just wrapping around each other. And there's even AGTC little lights on the bottom of the floor to tell you about the bases that form the DNA. And I'm gonna just do a little loop on this lookout here. no ramp, so I normally take this lift down, but it looks like they've turned it off in this COVID season. So I'm just gonna have to carry my bike down the stairs. And here we go again, under the Art Science Museum and back along the same route that we came on earlier. Now, this is the part where they have that light show I was telling you about earlier. And so, again, we'll just do a little loop and kind of get a view of the bay. Normally it's just a little bit too crowded here to cycle comfortably. You gotta be going really slowly, but today it is just a beautiful day and you can just cruise at this slow speed. It's quite remarkable. preparing to enter back onto the main road. Check, oh, there's actually a green light, so I can go with the traffic. I'm gonna make a next right turn, so we'll indicate and start moving over. I don't normally go this way, but sometimes it's nice to take a little bit of a different route so I can go through Chinatown and show you what Chinatown is like. Now we're leaving the financial district behind us, but still in the middle of town, and entering into the Chinatown portion. And here we go, turning left, and this is Chinatown in this area. At night, again, it's really interestingly lit, especially at Chinese New Year. And there's a ton of bustling people around usually, just not today. You can see on the right an Indian temple. People ask, what's an Indian temple doing in Chinatown? Well, that's really one of the interesting multiracial juxtapositions in Singapore. There's an Indian temple there, there's a Buddhist temple on the right, there's a Christian church on the left coming up, and straight ahead those really tall buildings are the Pinnacle at Duxton, Singapore's tallest public housing, and I am blessed to be able to live there. That's my home. And so we've come to the end of our ride. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this little cityscape tour of Singapore on one of my recumbent rides.